Hello students, today we are starting with the second unit which is going to deal with the 18th century political condition of Europe. In this section we are going to understand what was the political condition of Europe before the beginning of nationalism there. So if you look at Europe at that point of time in general, you will see that Europe was divided into kingdoms, duchies and cantons. Therefore, the idea of nationalism or the idea of a nation state was impossible to emerge. If you look at critically region wise at that point of time of the Europe, you will see that Eastern and the Central Europe was under the autocratic monarchies. These monarchies spoke different languages and belonged to the different groups of the people and different ethnic descents. Next important point in this series, you will see that the Habsburg Empire, which was one of the largest empire of the Europe, was basically a patchwork of different regions like Alpine, Bohemia, Lombardy, Venetia, etc. And the people spoke different languages like German, Italian, Magyar and Polish. And finally, therefore, because of these kind of divisions existing in the then Europe, it was impossible to emerge political unity. Therefore, you can say that at that point of time, there was lack of political unity in Europe. Such a huge difference did not promote a sense of political unity, belongingness, and connectivity amongst them. They had a common allegiance to the emperor only. No other allegiance existed at that point of time. Now moving to the next important concept of this unit, that what was the condition of society at that point of time. We have already seen the political condition. Now we are moving to the social condition in Europe during 18th century. So aristocracy was the dominant class at that point of time. In a simple word, aristocracy refers to the landed elites whom we call zamindars in India. So it is the aristocracy which dominated the society. Socially, if you look at them, they were unified by the common way of life. They spoke French and they were connected by the ties of marriage. We all know that social relations are stronger between the same group of the people who are socially similar, economically similar, and politically also same. Moving to the next point with regard to their conditions. Economically, they owned huge estates in countryside and they also owned town houses where they used to spend times and live a life of luxury away from the rural setup. In Western Europe, you will see that the tenants actually farmed the lands of these landed elites, and the small owners also existed. Eastern and the Central Europe at that point of time, the landholding pattern was characterized by vast estates, and these estates were cultivated by serfs. Serfs are a group of the people who were tied to the aristocracy through the institution of feudalism. So they were, in a way, you can say that they were in a way slaves of the aristocracy. Moving to the third concept of this unit, which is about the social class of 18th century only, but we are going to look it at in the areas which is present day Western and the Central Europe. So in Western and the Central Europe, by the 18th century or by the mid of the 18th century, you will see a new phenomena started emerging, which you can say the growth of industry and trade started happening, which finally led to the emergence of towns and the new commercial class based on market. So this is a very fine point that you need to register in your mind, that Western Europe was different from rest of the Europe in many respects, especially because there was economic change taking place led by industrialization and long distance trade and commerce. As a result of that, there emerged towns and a new social groups. Moving to the next point, industrialization took root and started growing fast in 19th century, especially in the areas which are present day England, Germany and France. There are new social groups like working class, working population or factory laborer, middle class, businessmen, professionals, etc. emerged. And these groups of the people are different from the groups of the people who actually worked in Europe based on agrarian economy. Agrarian economy means the economy based on agriculture. Remember that now Europe is changing. That change is being led by industrialization, and industrialization is producing new social groups like middle class and factory workers. It also led to the emergence of many towns, cities, etc. Therefore, the old structure of the society is changing, and hence the idea of politics and the political institution is also changing in Europe, especially in the Western and the Central Europe. Third important point with this in this regard is the Central and the Eastern Europe. You will see that factory workers and the middle class was smaller in contrast to the Western and the Central Europe. And finally, this middle class was looking for a political ideology which could replace the monarchical system in which landed aristocracy dominated, but the middle class, which was the new class, and this class had wisdom, money and the vision. Therefore, this class wanted a new political ideology and a unity amongst the region and the people, so that a new kind of political environment could be created. So what I am trying to emphasize, that liberal middle class emerged, and therefore with this class the idea of national unity also emerged following the abolition of aristocratic privileges. Aristocratic privileges are those privileges which were granted to the zamindars, nobility, etc. by the institutions of feudalism, which was dominated by the nobility and aristocracy, and these privileges were granted by the monarchs to these two sections. The privileges were, they were exempted from the paying tax, and they had also right to levy certain taxes which they kept with themselves.